Members of the company, this is your Places call. Places, please. Places for the top of the podcast. Places, please.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the glitz and not-so-glam of Broadway, education, and everyday life with Uncommon Sense. Join hosts Christopher Smith and Charna Lopez as they bring you the best stories and shenanigans that seemingly prove how elusive common sense can really be. So take a little time for yourself to hang out with the dynamic duo Charnopher. And no leaving early, because you might just miss that 11 o'clock number.
Stand by music. Music, go.
Uncommon sense, the 11 o'clock number. And we are Charnopher.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Smith, and I am auditioning for the role of podcast host.
Next.
Rude. But okay. Hi, friends.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody.
Charna Lopez. Unreal.
I'm in a punchy mood today.
You are in a punchy mood. And guess what else, everyone? We are together.
We are together. We set up together today at my studio.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how difficult it would be to sit right next to him and not be like, Christopher. But I'm going to try my best. This is a new setup for us, but I kind of like it because I have a friend and I'm not like by myself. Yeah. So if you notice our different backgrounds, we're in
I have a poll in mind, but
we're in my
it's okay.
studio. So it's kind of a fun moment for us.
It is a fun moment for us.
But Christopher did a great introduction of what our topic is going to be today.
Yeah.
That was why he started that way. And then I so graciously interjected.
Right, as one does.
But Christopher, will you repeat it? Repeat it again. Tell us what you're doing today.
I think we're going to talk about audition books today.
Like it.
What do you want in an audition book?
And you know what's interesting? I feel like it's changed a lot, honestly, over the last several years. Definitely changed from when I was still auditioning, especially the high school level, college level. I feel like it's changed a bit. And I know we both have insight into that, just in terms of doing audition prepping with students and with kids and whoever, but also from a performer director side of it, we have some info on that too. Yeah. I love this topic. Christopher came up with it though. I have to give him credit.
Thanks, Charna.
So, okay, Christopher, then let's just jump right in. Yeah. Audition book.
So it's really subjective. You ask any coach or vocal teacher or anything, and everyone's going to have an opinion.
Agreed.
But I think there's some that are probably consistent across the board. I would say starting with the beginning. Let's start at the very beginning.
It's a very good place to start.
That's right. All right. So I'm thinking that you should always have two contrasting golden age pieces. What do you think?
Agreed.
Yeah?
Agreed. And contrasting, do you mean contrasting in tempo, in style, in character, all of the above?
I think when I say contrasting, it's tempo and or style.
Okay.
Which sometimes, and usually I should say, goes hand in hand.
And kind of also often goes hand in hand with character too. I guess it kind of all jumps together. Yeah. I think too, for me, the character part of it is often something that's forgotten about. I think that a lot of students are like, oh, this song, it's in my range and it's an uptempo. And you're like, cool, but like what character are you going to be? Like what type of role would this be used for? Mm-hmm. Right? And you need to make sure you have that. But I think on a basic level, yes, two contrasting golden age or golden era.
Yeah.
Songs. Yeah.
Charna, what do you mean when we say golden age? Like, what comes to mind for you?
Like Gershwin?
I was thinking like time period. Like, is there kind of like pre-1980s, pre-1970s, pre-1960s?
I think before 70s.
Okay. I would say 60s to 70s for me.
Yeah, I think 80s gets us into a little bit too. I can't call 80s modern, but I'm going to call 80s modern. I think it gets a little into.
It's modern for us.
Yeah. But I also think if you look at the music that was written at the time, clearly it's not going to be the same as some of our musicals that have come out in the last 5 years, of course.
Last 5 years. Which did not come out in the last 5 years, but.
Correct. But I think you can tell, I don't know, for me, you can tell in the song the second that you hear it, that it's kind of got that golden era. Yeah, I would say pre-70s, 60s, 70s.
Great.
Yeah.
On the same page. That's great. I think we also need 1 to 2 pop rock songs contrasting again. Maybe a ballad, maybe an uptempo.
Or like a screlty rock.
Yeah.
Right? Guys, girls, whomever, that kind of screlty rock and roll-ish pop rock moment, for sure.
Yeah, because there's so many of those musicals right now. I'm kicking everything over here.
Oh no.
Kicking everything.
New space.
But that's where Broadway sort of is. It's like pop rock musicals and jukebox musicals, which most of the time overlap.
Yeah.
Especially these days. So anyway, I would say to contrasting pop/rock. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I want to go through this, and then I want to go back and be and then kind of taking it down to the next level of it, right? Because I feel like if you're just going to start your audition book, or you're how do I start, or what am I doing? Yes, these are exactly the things. And I think as you get more experience and you have more time to build your book, obviously we can go into more details. But yes, 2 contrasting golden age. Do you call it golden age or golden era?
I call it golden age.
Yeah, I think it is golden age. I keep wanting to say golden era.
It's a golden era, though.
Golden era. And then 2 uptempo or ballad, contrasting pop rock for sure.
Yeah.
I also think you need a country song.
Oh.
Yeah. I feel
it's on my list too.
Is it?
It is.
Okay, I was ooh, I'm surprising
it's in the folk country.
Yeah.
Folk
country.
With an L.
And I think for me, I'm a country music fan, if you don't know me, just in general. But I think if you find a really good one, they're really great storytelling songs too.
Yes.
So you kind of can get that monologue moment of a song, and they're a really acting side to a country song, folk song.
I just think about the Rascal Flatts song, play a country song backwards.
Yeah.
You get your dog back, you get your house back, you get your car back, all the things.
Yeah. No, I think that too. What else? What else do you think?
Then 1 to 2 again contrasting contemporary musical theater songs.
Yes.
Which kind of
I think some students might be pop rock but I think pop rock non-musical theater pop rock songs.
Literally pop songs.
Yeah. So a Taylor Swift or a Katy Perry or a whatever it may be. And I'm going, pop. But you could go with Pat Benatar. You could go with whatever pop rock, but that is not to be confused with contemporary musical theater songs. Now,
correct.
You might have, songs from Kinky Boots or song that are Cyndi Lauper songs or whatever, but that is a contemporary musical theater song.
Yeah.
Not a pop rock song.
Not a pop rock song.
Not to be confused.
Then you need a huge I don't know, a mega musical type song.
Like what?
Like a Les Mis or even Phantom, so a larger, what do they call those shows?
I don't know. What do you a really popular show or a large?
Well, it's a large scale show. I don't know. What
Is
I'm
it
trying
a
to
name
say.
for it? I don't know if I put Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis in the same.
Really?
Well, I guess.
They're similar styles. I don't know.
I guess, yeah. But you mean just a well-known?
Maybe something like
what else would fit in that category?
from a thinking. We need the little think bubble. Think bubble. Even Wicked would fall under that category for me.
Okay, but that could also fall under contemporary, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
This is it doesn't have to be. Have to be. This next one absolutely has to be, in my opinion, and that is a Sondheim song.
Yes.
Specifically, maybe 2.
Yes, and why do you have that as an absolute? Because I have my reasons for it too.
I have it as an absolute because musically, it's so different from almost any other genre. It's like its own musical genre. Like the level of chromaticism in
That's a word. Chromaticism.
the level of chromaticism in Sondheim is unparalleled.
Yeah.
Except in like classical 20th century music.
Now, sidebar tangent, because you are the musician. You're the musician in the room. I usually have students steer clear if they're going to choose, like, audition book is different. That's a different level. You're going, it's a little, not professional, but you know what I mean? Like a kid that's like coming to me with a Sondheim song, I oftentimes move them away from it because I'm worried the accompanist will not be able to play it. There's obviously certain ones that most accompanists can play with their eyes closed because a lot of kids do it. But I think sometimes it's like Jason Robert Brown too, where is that a thing where you have to be careful with which Sondheim song you choose so you're sure that it will like be successful in the audition room?
Sort of. I think the answer is sort of. I wouldn't necessarily choose a Sondheim song for a non-Sondheim audition.
Right. And I guess at that point then, okay, we're doing a Sondheim show.
Yeah.
Lots of people are going to come in with a Sondheim song. Yeah. And I actually... I wanted you to say why you thought you should have a Sondheim song, and that's the exact reason I think so too. Because it is a genre, like all on its own, essentially.
Essentially,
yeah.
Okay, let's see what else is on my list. It's fun. This one's kind of like I think everyone should have it. I don't consider it a requirement, but something that is from like for lack of a better term, a niche genre.
Okay, like?
Which is not actually that niche, but like something that's not typical musical theater, like specifically like jazz or operetta or something like that.
So I actually think that's great, especially if you know your wheelhouse and that's kind of your like magical unicorn song. Like I have more of an operatic moment that I can do, then I'm going to have a song like that. Or
a patter
jazz
song.
Okay, I can get behind that. Yeah.
Then I think you need to have a song that is a you song, something that you do really well, that you're really comfortable with, that represents you and kind of shows who you are as a performer and or a person.
And I will go on that too. I call that like your safety song. And I know it's like a term they use for college. This is my safety school or whatever. But I can't tell you how many times when I was auditioning, I was like, oh, woke up, throat's not feeling great. Ooh, not a little feeling under the weather. My safety song, I could do if I was lying down on the ground dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that song that you are so comfortable singing. You could do any different options with it. You're confident in it. And I think that goes with the music itself, but also the character, right? Like, cool, I got this one back in my pocket. Yeah. Like, done.
Pocket. Here it is. Thanks, friends. And that's kind of like my overall collection.
Okay.
Do you have anything you'd add?
I don't think so. I think because you've talked a lot about the different tempos, I think a lot of times, and again, maybe it's because of the age that I deal with more often or we deal with more often. I think a really strong ballad, like a ballad, not a slower musical theater song, Like I think that's important to have because ballads are hard to sing. And I think oftentimes people come in and they do their like da 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 dee da da, and you're like, great. And if you really need somebody to sing something difficult, and that role or whatever you're looking for has like that ballad, like a true ballad. But if you put that into one of those genres or areas that we talked about, then I think it works. What I want to talk about, and I think this is something I learned over time. I never necessarily had to implement it myself, but my sister did, is having multiple cuts of the same song.
Yes.
So, I remember being like, cool, I got my 32 bar cut or my minute. When I was auditioning and performing, and even still with my students, that's kind of where I land, is the 32 bar or a minute, right? However, my sister, she's like, sometimes they'll ask you for 8 bars, literally 8 bars. And you've got to pick it, and even 16 is one that's
hard.
That's, and a little more sought after, I think. Now,
when you see 9,000 people.
Exactly. And now it might be different because you're doing a lot of self-tapes. And so there's not a physical in-person component until that second call. But I think knowing those cuts is really important. And I think the cut is important. I cannot stand, oh my gosh, I'm going to
go on your tangent because we're going to be on the same tangent.
When you have a student or a performer or an auditioner who comes in who's actually very good and they have the worst cut of whatever song they brought in, and you're like, no, I'm going to steal a story. This didn't actually happen to me. But it happened to a very good friend of mine, and I think it's the best example. So you guys know this song "Gimme Gimme" from Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Gimme,
I think a very, very good audition song for any girl, even 13, 13 and up, because it's about love, but it's got such a great arc of emotion. It sits well in most girls' voices. You don't have to scroll Idina Menzel. You can still show your belt, but you can mix it. I love it. This girl comes in. This didn't happen to me. I'm stealing a friend's story, okay? It was,
ready.
a 16-bar cut. Or no, it was a minute. It was a minute. And she had a track, so they weren't playing on the sheet music, but it went, do you know the beginning of that song? Are you pretty familiar with it? So it's like, gimme, gimme, boom, boom. Gimme, gimme, boom, boom, right?
Yes, where you have to wait.
Gimme. And now the song is halfway done, and we've heard you say gimme, gimme on the same note. Like, not the cut, not the way to do the song. The end of that song, I don't care if he's nobody in my heart. Like, that. You're never going to get to that, girl, if you just start with gimme, gimme. So I think it's important, and that's where oftentimes I think audition coaches can help with that. But anyone who's listening that's going to do this on their own, really make sure you find the part of the song that is going to showcase your voice, your acting, your performance, because I think that's a big part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that we should tell people how to kind of do that. I have some thoughts.
You go, because I know you do that a lot. And even when we taught together, you sort of helped me find those places. I think
you want to find the section of, like, you need to start with what you want to have in your cut. You're like, where's my big moment? Or where's the acting moment where if you want to show your acting beat.
Yeah.
And start there and be like, that needs to be in the song, and then almost reverse engineer. And you're like, how can I get this in a section that is 32 bars or 16 bars or 8 bars?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, and if for an 8-bar cut, it's like, here's the sentence into here's my high note.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot of places that do 8 bars. I have heard stories of people doing that, but I mean, 16 bars at the minimum, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. But with that, it's like you reverse engineer, and usually it's like a verse and a chorus is like a 32-bar cut.
Yeah.
So,
and I will say too, one of my big pet peeves is when you take a song that is pretty well known and you chop it up too much, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I really love this part, and I really love this part, and I really love this part, and so I'm gonna do all these weird cuts, and the accompanist is like, what the? Yeah. And everyone behind the table is like, that didn't work.
Yeah.
So you might have to give in some places, like, cool, these 3 parts I really like, but I can't get them all in. Right. So prioritize and cut the 2 in that you really, really like, and don't make too many cuts.
Yeah,
because then it's wonky.
Yeah, internal cuts are hard because of that. Right. But you also have to do some internal cuts sometimes, because a lot of times the songs aren't written in a way where you can just be like, last verse, chorus out.
Right. I often like when the songs are like, you can start at the bridge. I love that. When you could do like bridge into verse or bridge into chorus done. Like, you kind of get, because I find bridges often, for me, musically, now I don't write music, but I find like they're one of the coolest connecting moments in songs. I don't know. I love me a bridge. Yeah. Where it's like, we're in like a new part. Something, it's going to get bigger.
Bridges
something's
going to
happen, you know?
Usually they're building.
Yeah.
It's like, gung, 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 gung. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think if you can do a bridge, which like kind of leads you into that next momentous part, if out of the bridge is good. Yeah. I like that.
I think that's.
So yeah, having different cuts of songs. I also think.
And I'm going to interrupt here. Yeah. Including the whole song. Please, 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 please be prepared with your whole song.
And here's why. Because they may say...
Tell us why, Charna.
Here's why. They may say 32 bars. They may say 16 bars. And if you get in and you're singing, I don't know, Gimme Gimme, for instance, whatever. I can't think of it.
Why not?
Maybe this time. We'll do Maybe This Time. Oh,
maybe this time.
Oh, I love a song. And if they know the song and you did a cut and they were like, ooh, that's not the part that I wanted to hear this person sing. Hey, can you do, the bridge to the end? Or can you do the last verse and all the way through to the end? You better be ready to say, yes, I can. Yeah. Not, ooh, I don't know that part. I don't really, then you haven't really even done your research on the song either.
Next.
Yeah. So have the whole song, know it, and then know your cuts, right? And I've had so many students that come in and they are so fierce and ready to go. And they'll even ask like, okay, so I have like a 2-minute cut. And I'm like, no, we're doing a minute take. Okay, great. I'll do the minute cut. Like they know it, and it's just a sign of professionalism. And I think then you're like, oh, this person's prepared, right? I think too, on that note of knowing the song, know all your songs.
That's what I was going to say next.
Because what happens is like, oh, I'm going in for a Sondheim show. Great. I really got my Sondheim song down. I know the full song. I know my 2-minute, my 1-minute, my 16. I got everything ready. And then you get in there and they're like, do you have something country? And you're like, well, I do, but I haven't practiced it in a while. Like, what if you have to be prepared for any and all things? Like, it's the same thing with dancing.
In your book.
Bring your tap shoes.
Yes.
Even if there's no tap in the show, bring your tap shoes.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be ready. You got to be ready
Always
to go.
prepared. Channel your inner Boy Scout.
It's true.
But anything in your book, you have to be ready with.
Yeah. Or don't put it in there.
That's right.
Because oftentimes they'll look through it too.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, that song, that one pop song that I sang when I was 15 and I can no longer sing. Yeah. Sucks for you right now, dude.
Yeah, I've had it happen more than once out in the world where even a director will be like, do you have anything else that's like this? And then you'll list something off and they're like, no. And eventually they're like, can you give Christopher your book and he can look through?
Yeah.
And see if he can,
oh,
you can
shoot.
find something.
And then you're like, gosh, I hope they know this one. Yeah. Don't put it in there.
Yeah.
Take it out. Take it out. And then also, I mean, this doesn't really have to do with book, but maybe when you're preparing the stuff in your book, always be ready to be given a direction. So I think the performance world is just so perfection driven anyway. Like you work so hard to do one thing. And as a director, I love, if I have time in an audition, to be like, awesome, now can you try it like this? And the kids who, even if they don't nail it, but they try, those are the kids I want to work with, or those are the people that I want to work with. The person that is a robot who is clearly like, I've always sung it this way, can't do it any other way. You're like, there's nothing to work with there, right? Yeah. I even love giving like breathing, like don't breathe here, right? Do it again for me. Don't breathe right there. And some people are so mechanical with the way they've practiced that they can't think in the moment and try something new. I also think it's part of a fear of like, I'm going to mess up and I've done it this way so many times and it's perfect. And you're like, but I want to see you as like a person and not as a machine. So I think be ready, be prepared for that.
Yeah.
You do it often too, like when we're coaching, not necessarily in auditions, but like try this or pull back here. And I think sometimes in an audition room, if you're given that ability and time to work with an auditioner, then it's awesome to be able to do that.
Yeah. I think it's great. And I think along with that, know your material inside and out, because then it gives you your own comfort freedom within those moments where you're like, oh, try here, something different. You know the rest of it like the back of your hand. And so then you can just focus on doing the direction that you've been given.
And tell me what you think, Christopher. We've talked a lot about like just keep going. I've sat through so many auditions with accompanists where, you know, the auditioner is always like side-eyeing the accompanist like they've ruined their song. And I'm like, just keep singing. If you know your song, do you know what I'm talking about?
Just keep singing.
But when they're like looking to this side, like you ruined my thing. And I'm like, no, you just ruined it for yourself. It could be playing in the key of Q and you shall keep singing your song until someone's like, hold on, I'm sorry. Can we start
hashtag the key of Q?
But it's true, right? You know how many kids do that and they're like, it's not over. I'm like, no, you don't. Just keep singing the song.
So I have some different thoughts on this. So first of all, we talked about this with Jenny on her episode.
Yes.
But overall, I think that, yes, first choice is to keep going pretty much no matter what. If it's going and you were like, cannot find anything, cannot do anything, and it's just we're in 9 different tempos and 25 different keys. Full train wreck. It is. I think it's okay to stop and say, can we just try that again from the beginning? And if you need to go talk to the accompanist again, please do that. And
so maybe it's like,
and if it's the accompanist's fault, which sometimes it is, that's the time to help them out and be clear with what you need.
Right.
And not being like, you didn't play that right. Because
that's not how I wanted it.
I've had that happen. So And I'm like, actually, I did play it exactly like it's on the page, but it might
Right.
not be what you're expecting from hearing your random YouTube karaoke track.
Yes. And that is what happens often. I mean, that's like of our times for sure. I think too, on that same note, Christopher, knowing what your intro is. So when you've made a cut, and you are practicing it, you can't listen to your karaoke track or the Broadway version and be like, cool, I'm going to start right here. That intro, whatever is on your sheet music, may have something different than what you've been hearing. So you have to know what that's going to sound like.
Right.
To
And
get you into
speaking of intros, I think, and there's different thoughts on this, I personally think you can do a bell tone or an intro. Whatever
love
makes
bell tone.
more sense in your situation. And again, it's just personal preference. But I personally prefer an intro, but if a bell tone is easier for you to get into what you're doing and you feel more confident with that, that's a better choice.
Do you think it depends on the song too? I think there's
100%.
some songs that I prefer an intro, and I also think an intro gives you an acting moment, which
That's what I
I
was going to
love.
say next. Yeah.
I love that
It's like the moment before.
Yeah, and a lot of kids will take the time to have. They know they're doing their moment before. They're thinking it. You kind of see the setup of what's going to happen. Now, I think some songs, the bell tone's great because you can, as then the auditioners, sort of set the tempo. Bing. If I were a bell, you know what I mean, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
like you can kind of set it. But I do like an intro with an acting beat.
I just have to take a moment to laugh at the fact that you talked about bell tones and chose the song If I Were a Bell.
I didn't even do that on purpose. I'm on today. I'm on.
Loving it.
Yes.
A little bit back to song selection for your books. I think that it's good also to have something that shows a sense of humor and maybe something dramatic as well. So you can show your different sides as an actor.
Yeah, and I think too, most people know what their wheelhouse is.
Yeah.
Most people know I am a funny person or I am not a funny person. But that doesn't mean you can't find a song that is comedic and is not screw loose. You know what I mean? I mean, screw loose, you have to be really hilarious.
Yeah.
You can find something that is comedic and shows your funny side, even if you're not a very outgoing, charismatic kind of comedic person. Same thing with the dramatic. I think, and I think research is a big part of it. One other thing that just came to mind too, and I was just talking with our friend and colleague Maddie about this. There's often this want to make sure you find not obscure songs, but songs that aren't done.
Yeah,
I don't want to have the same song as
Right.
everybody else. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, and this is maybe personal preference or opinion, I would rather you sing The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow, honestly, and do it well than try and sing some random song from some YouTube musical that maybe existed for 5 minutes that's like, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad to do
It's not that big a
an
deal.
overdone song.
And I, even somebody who is not a fan of Annie, would rather hear The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow. I know, she loves the Annie.
I love Annie.
It's okay.
It's cute.
The world loves Annie. I'm in the minority here. I'm
Totally fine. I'm
understanding.
going to change his mind on it. We're going to do it together at one point, and then he'll love it. It's kind of like Footloose. I didn't want to do. I wanted to have nothing to do with Footloose,
Me
and then we
neither.
did it together. And now I'm
Me
like,
neither.
I love Footloose. We gotta do it again.
So fun.
We should find the 10-year anniversary of it and then do it.
Happening.
You just got excited.
You heard it here first. So with what were we talking about?
Oh, doing overdone songs
Overdone
or
songs,
super
thank you.
popular songs.
We got sidetracked with
Yeah.
Footloose and Annie. So I also would rather hear a song that is overdone and done well than not just pick an obscure song.
Yeah.
Now, the goal, in my opinion, is to find that balance of familiar but not overdone.
I agree. You don't want to be in the audition room and 3 people are singing the same song on
Right.
the same day, or you're like, and it's usually like a cycle because we sit through a lot of auditions. And there'll be years that I'm like, if I hear When He Sees Me from Waitress one more time, someone's going to die. Someone is actually dying today.
And I'm sitting next to her, so it might be me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, oftentimes I think with our new world of Google, we get a lot of I'm auditioning for Little Shop.
yeah.
Best audition songs for Little Shop.
Yeah.
Even this last show we just auditioned, we had that where I was like, why is everybody singing songs from the show?
Yeah.
Sure enough, I Googled audition songs for such and such, and I'm like, oh, that's why, because it pops up.
interesting.
And so we had a lot of people singing from that show.
What is, and I know this is like a sort of a hot topic, what is your take on singing from a show for an audition?
Ooh, good question, Christopher. I will tell you what, I think it pigeonholes you somewhat.
Okay.
I'm not against it. If you, I like using Annie. I'll use something else. If you are, it's so much funnier when he's laughing right next to me. I feel like we need like little cheers moments or something in the show.
Cheers. Well, you keep coming in my frame, so it's cool.
Do I really?
Yeah, it's all good. I'll cut you out.
Sorry. Oh, good. He's going to cut me out.
Maybe. We'll see.
I gotta stay.
You might just pop over in the screen.
It's because I have big mannerisms. If you haven't noticed, I'm a large person. Okay, here's what I will say about it. I don't think there's a yes or no, right or wrong, to be honest with you. I will say, if you come in and you sing, well, let's use the show we're doing right now. We're doing Something Rotten right now. If you come in and you sing Right Hand Man for B, and we don't like the way you did it, I think you kind of shot yourself in the foot, right? That was your callback.
Yeah.
Is essentially how I look at it. So if you are not 500% solid in the way that you're doing it, and you think of it like, if this were the callback, would I get the role?
Yeah.
Don't do it. That's my thing.
That's a great way to think of it.
Right?
Yeah, and I kind of get to the same place just a little differently. My thought is that if we want to hear, the long story short is I prefer not to hear from the show personally, because if we want to hear something more from you for a role, we will get to do that in the callback. So I would rather hear you sing twice, 2 different things,
Yes.
than something you're already saying that I'm like, okay.
A third kind of way of thinking about it from an actor point. If you think, gosh, this is like, we're going to get in so many people's heads with all this. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? At the end of the day, just come in and be awesome. That's all.
Yes.
We don't care. But I would say, so for instance, let's use a different show. Let's use Chicago. Let's say you kind of don't seem like the Velma type. You people aren't going to really see you as Velma. And you kind of know, even all of my audition songs I have, even if I pick a Velma-ish song, I still don't think this team or people are going to see me as a Velma. You know what? Go for it. Sing Velma. Because then maybe it changes someone's mind of like, wait, I didn't know that they could do that type of thing. Unless you have a very Velma adjacent song that you're like, this actually is Velma just in a different show.
No, that's
you know,
true.
because I think it sometimes helps people if you don't have a really solid choice of an audition song for that character that's not the actual song from the show, then I'm okay with it. Because I think it does change some people's minds like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that person in that role.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Thanks, Christopher.
I think that, so all that to say, it's all opinion. And I think the most important part of choosing an audition song is just something that you are really comfortable with and shows you off well.
Yeah.
There are times when I'm like, that was a weird choice. But usually if it's done really well,
Whale is really whale.
Yep. A caramel dwizzle. So if it's done really well, I quickly move past that being like, not a great song choice.
Yeah.
Because it shows I saw you.
And I tend to try and tell auditioners when their song choice is good. I try to acknowledge it with them, like, especially if I know them.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know them, hey, so great, thanks for coming in. Just that was a really great song choice. I try it so they have a little bit of confirmation of like, cool, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
I have a harder time telling them that's not good because then I'm like, oh, I just like killed their dreams. But I think I try to make sure they get a little bit of that. Oh, okay, I chose right. I did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. The last thing I'll probably say, I say last thing, who knows? The last thing I'm planning to say is that with your audition cut, just please, for the love of all things, do not stop in the middle of a phrase just because that's the end of 32 bars.
And I will say,
Cannot tell you.
that happens.
Cannot tell you how many times that has happened to me.
Finish the phrase, people.
Just finish the phrase.
Just finish it.
Like, even if you're at
40 bars. Even if you're at 50 bars.
50 bars.
Finish the phrase.
But like, then make a different cut. But just finish the phrase. Or
Yeah.
don't, even if it's the end of a section, like, don't stop at the end of the bridge. That's not a good choice.
Correct. Yeah, it's not. And it just feels weird.
Right.
It leaves
So
us like,
So I feel like most everybody, and if not, Instagram us and we'll help you.
Yeah.
But most people, I think, have a grasp, if they've listened to music most of their lives, which I think a lot of people have that are in musical theater, of what feels finished, what makes sense to end on. So just use your best.
And on that note,
Are we going to end?
we didn't plan any of these little moments today, and we're kind of crushing it.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that was like Fast and Furious audition book 101, but I think that's a great place to start for sure. And I think it is particular to people, individuals. But if you're working with somebody or you have an audition coach, these are great things to discuss with them. And like Christopher said, DM us. Get us on Insta if you have any questions.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
We're here for you. All right. Well, on that note, thanks for joining us. Check us out on uncommonpod.com. Follow us on the Instagram at Charnopher Official. The tongue tie is real today.
It's all good.
And like and subscribe on YouTube. And on that note,
Charnopher out.
Oh. Yes. Correct.
I love.
This concludes another episode of Uncommon Sense. If you're ready for more of this fresh, hilarious, and unique perspective on the world of entertainment, education, and life, be sure to subscribe right now to catch every episode. If you gasped, laughed out loud, or even snorted, share the show with your friends and aspiring entertainers because, let's be real, sharing is caring. For more Charnopher, tune in to their witty insights by checking out the website uncommonpod.com or connecting on social media. Tune in next week and get the real insider scoop on another episode of Uncommon Sense.